You know, in the business world, we're always told to be the smartest person in the room. But what if that's actually wrong? Today, we're going to dig into a hidden advantage, the one thing that really explains why some people just thrive, while others, who are brilliant on paper, totally fall behind. We're talking about emotional intelligence.
So, let's just start with this big question, right? Why is it that you see people with genius-level IQs sometimes just flounder, while other folks with, more modest smarts do incredibly well? The answer lies in a totally different kind of intelligence.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get into the IQ paradox. Then we'll talk about the two minds that we all have. After that, we'll learn how to master our emotions and then use that skill to really connect with others. And finally, we'll see the huge professional advantage this gives you. Okay, first up, let's challenge this idea that most of us grew up with. This is what we call the IQ paradox. Or maybe a better way to put it is, when smart is dumb. Look, we've all been taught that a high IQ is your ticket to success. But the reality is, raw intelligence can mean absolutely nothing when your emotions take the wheel. I mean, think about it. A brilliant business plan completely derailed by a bruised ego, right? Or a super smart leader making a terrible call in a moment of anger. That emotional override, that's the paradox right there in action.
So if our brain power isn't always in charge, what is? Well, this brings us to this really fascinating idea that we all have two minds, the rational one and the emotional one.
And this is exactly where emotional intelligence, or EQ, comes into play. Now, the key word here is ability. EQ is the ability to manage your own emotions and to influence the emotions of people around you. This is not some fixed trait you're born with. It's a skill. It's something you can build. Think of it like this. You've got your rational mind, which is thoughtful, it's logical. That's the part of you that makes a pro-con list. But then you have your emotional mind. And that mind is fast, it's powerful, and let's be honest, it's often illogical. Most of the time, they work in balance. But when they clash, well, the emotional mind can take over with some serious force. The philosopher Erasmus said it perfectly centuries ago. For every 1 part reason we have, we've got 24 parts passion. So when our emotions surge, our rational mind just gets totally steamrolled. So the big question is, how do we manage this incredibly powerful force? And that brings us to our third part, building your own internal toolkit to master your emotions. Mastering yourself really boils down to two things. First is self-awareness. That's just noticing a feeling as it's happening, not judging it, just going, okay, I'm feeling frustrated right now. And the second is self-management. That's choosing how you're going to respond instead of just letting that feeling run the show.
Because if you don't, you fall victim to what's called an emotional hijacking. Some trigger goes off, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, takes control, and your rational brain just goes completely offline. This is that moment you hit send on that angry email and immediately wish you could pull it back.
And that's exactly why this is so critical. The ability to control that impulse, that's the very foundation of your will, of your character. It's what lets you make good decisions under pressure, build trust, and lead people effectively.
Just how powerful is this skill? Well, in a really famous study, kids who could resist eating a marshmallow right away scored, on average, get this, 210 points higher on their SATs years later. That single number just shows you the incredible long-term power of self-control.
Okay, so once you start to manage your own internal world, the next step is to apply that skill outward. This is all about your toolkit for connecting with other people.
And this builds directly on mastering yourself. First, you have empathy, which is really the ability to understand what other people are feeling. Then, there's handling relationships, which is using that awareness to guide interactions smoothly. These two things together, they're the cornerstones of social intelligence.
But let's be really clear about something. Empathy is not just about being nice. It is a strategic business skill. It's about reading the room in a negotiation. It's about understanding a client's unspoken needs, and it's about knowing what truly motivates your team. In sales and leadership, this skill is basically a superpower.
So, we've covered the internal skills and the external skills. Now for the payoff. Let's look at how combining intellect and emotion gives you the ultimate professional advantage.
A famous study at Bell Labs, a place packed with brilliant engineers, tried to figure out what separated their star performers from everybody else. And the conclusion was pretty shocking. Academic talent had almost zero connection to how productive they were on the job.
So if it wasn't just raw intellect, what was it?
It was collaboration, persuasion, building consensus. In other words, every single skill that separated the stars from the pack was an element of emotional intelligence. Their success came from their high EQ.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how can you start building this advantage, like right now? Here are 3 simple things you can practice today. First, just pause before you react. Create that tiny little gap between an impulse and your action. Second, get curious about other people. Just ask yourself, what might they be feeling right now? And third, when you're in a conversation, listen to actually understand them, not just to plan what you're going to say next.
So here's the bottom line. Your success isn't just about what you know. It's not about your degree or your technical skills alone. It's about how you handle yourself and how you handle your relationships with other people.
That ability to manage yourself and connect with others is what really opens doors. So, if you're ready to take action, move forward, and find more clients, you can book a free call with CT Marketing by using the link right below.